Is this the real life, or is this just fantasy? Caught in a landslide, no escape from reality. Open your eyes, look up to the skies and see. I'm just a poor boy. I need no sympathy. Because I'm easy come, easy go, little high, little low. Any way the wind blows doesn't really matter to me. I can already hear that you know. These are the lyrics of the famous Queen song Bohemian Rhapsody, which is the most streamed song of the 20th century. Rhapsody ends with a stunningly depressing statement. Nothing really matters. Anyone can see. Nothing really matters. Nothing really matters to me. While there are over 2,000 years between them, Freddie Mercury's words sound very similar to the words we find in the book of Ecclesiastes. Vanity of vanities, says the teacher. Vanity of vanities, all is vanity. Generations come and go. The sun rises and the sun sets. All things are wearisome. There is nothing new under the sun. All is vanity and a chasing after the wind. Most of us know very little about Ecclesiastes, other than the words we just sung from Pete Seeger's song, Turn, 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 which was popularized by the Byrds in the 1960s and has been used in funeral liturgies ever since. But if all we know about Ecclesiastes is the beginning of chapter 3, it could give us the impression that this is a book of comforting poems and wise aphorisms affirming the experiences that we have through the different times and the seasons of our lives. However, the author of Ecclesiastes is far from affirming of everything. The book is attributed to a teacher named Koheleth, which means assembly leader or the teacher, who impersonates King Solomon even though the book was written 500 years after he died. In fact, Ecclesiastes is the youngest book of the Hebrew Bible and one of the last that was introduced to the canon. It was likely written sometime between Alexander the Great conquering the world and the Maccabean Revolt, a time when the Jewish world was radically Hellenized by Greek influences. Along with Proverbs and Song of Songs and Job, Ecclesiastes is considered to be wisdom literature. And throughout its pages, the teacher is like a philosopher who reflects on the great questions that occupy every generation throughout history: the meaning of life, the unfairness of fate, the inevitability of death, and death's cruelty in stripping us all of dignity and distinctiveness and achievement. The teacher's mind in this book is restless and ruthless and subtle, unwilling to accept any easy answers, including his own. They return over and over again to the major themes of work and pleasure, money, power, wisdom, death, and God, and yet there are no dogmatic statements in this book, no doctrines, no beliefs, no commandments. Instead, the teacher presents themselves as someone who has seen it all, had it all, and done it all, and has come to render a comprehensive judgment on life. All is vanity. All is a chasing after the wind. And throughout the course of 12 chapters, the teacher claims that many things fall in this category. Work is vanity, pleasure is vanity, time is vanity, youth is vanity, money is vanity, fame is vanity, power is vanity, expectations are vanity, retribution is vanity. Life itself is vanity. Trying to understand God's wisdom is vanity. Reminds me of the lyrics to a 90s song. It's a bittersweet symphony, this life. Try to make ends meet, you're a slave to money, then you die. Kohelet would approve. Again and again, the teacher resoundingly proclaims 3 disturbing truths that most of us would rather pretend don't even exist at all. Truth 1, time marches on and we are a blip in the universe. 2, death comes for us all and we're all going to die. And 3, life is random and we are not in control. Like I said, 3 truths you don't want to think about. With these disturbing truths, it's a wonder that anyone in history has ever liked the book of Ecclesiastes. But it turns out it has been beloved. beloved by those who are grieving the loss of someone or something they love, beloved by those experiencing a sense of meaninglessness and purposelessness in life, beloved by those who are doubting the existence of God. A chaplain who served in Vietnam once attested it was the only book in the Bible that his soldiers were willing to hear. A student suffering from recurring bouts of depression once said that reading Ecclesiastes for them was like slipping into a warm bath. That may be because the teacher in this book is impatient with all pious talk and cheap versions of morality. Their words cut through all the drivel, all the hogwash, all the baloney that we are often fed, and firmly rejects every form of sentimental religiosity. It's reassuring for us as we read this to know that even the experience of total alienation from life and God appears in the Bible, and that grief and loss and alienation and depression are recognized and affirmed as a crucial part of the journey of faith. And many who are struggling over the years have found that reading this book has actually led them to a more genuine and authentic faith. Alongside those who are suffering, there's another group that the book of Ecclesiastes has traditionally been beloved by: young people, youth. Why? Because it shuns everything adults seem to find important and urges us to eat, drink, and be merry and seek out enjoyment and happiness in life. This instruction by Ecclesiastes was famously picked up by none other than the Dave Matthews Band in their song Tripping Billies. Conjuring the wild cheers of throngs of youthful and inebriated people everywhere, Dave would sing, "Eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we'll die," extolling his audiences to remember that life is short and we should enjoy it while we can. Yet there is also a dark side to the youthful exuberance of the idea that all is vanity. Ecclesiastes has also been associated with the dangerous philosophy of nihilism. Those who don't know what that word nihilism means, it's a form of extreme cynicism that contends that all life is meaningless. Nothing in the world has real existence, and all moral and religious principles should be rejected. Nothing matters, so anything is permitted. Nihilism was born in Russian literature as a reaction to the Enlightenment and found its key voice in the German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, who famously warned of nihilism when he wrote that God is dead in 1884. He believed the Enlightenment had killed the idea of God and the source of all morality, value, and order, which he thought would eventually cause Europeans to spiral down into catatonic nihilism. The Enlightenment's critical examination of traditional morality and social structures through their core belief in reason above all things led to a mass sense of meaninglessness. That enlightenment that brought us science and literature went hand in hand with an aggressive global expansion of European colonialism and the transatlantic slave trade. And so Nietzsche was right when he believed that this would lead to a distrust of all forms of meaning, and it was going to sweep over Europe and eventually create a world where nothing but power mattered, and the West would destroy itself. And sadly, more and more people are turning themselves toward nihilism. More and more young people especially, turning to nihilism today to cope with the depressing reality of life in the 21st century. The subreddit r/nihilism, I know some of you don't know what Reddit is, but it's an online forum. It grew from 31,000 members in 2019 to 115,000 members in 2022. Nihilistic philosophies have become much more frequent on social media sites where young people can easily access them and learn about them. The German animation studio Kurzgesagt has a well-produced 7-minute video called Optimistic Nihilism that now has over 17 million views. They've even now created amongst this youth culture an archetype for nihilistic youth called the doomer. Some of you have heard of the doomer. The doomer is a black and white drawing of a disheveled, sleep-deprived person wearing a black stocking cap and a hooded sweatshirt with dark circles under their eyes, smoking a cigarette. It appeared in 2018 as a figure of self-loathing and discontent, but has come to embody the nihilism of our youth. The nihilism that our youth particularly associate with clinical depression, hopelessness, homelessness, doom, dread, despair, all due to a belief that the end of the world is coming soon from climate catastrophe and extractive capitalism. A study published in 2021 by the University of Bath and Stanford found that over 56% of young people worldwide believe humanity is doomed. Many of them citing the climate crisis, civil rights abuses, or the inability of governments to govern. The digital echo chambers and overabundance of information that they are receiving is causing the largest generation in America, Gen Z, to become increasingly nihilistic, believing that life is devoid of meaning and all knowledge is subjective and humanity is doomed. And these nihilistic tendencies are making the younger generations more and more susceptible to extremism. We can't blame social media alone for this rise in nihilism. Today, there are 30 million Americans between the age 18 and 24, and another 73 million coming up behind them. Consider what they've experienced over the last 24 years. Just think for a moment. Banks failed to protect them, failed to protect homes, failed to protect jobs. No one was held accountable. The FDA failed to protect them from opioids flooding their communities. The government failed to protect them from the COVID-19 pandemic. They've never seen a single year of peace from war in Iraq, Afghanistan, Ukraine, and now Israel. The Supreme Court has taken away affirmative action and reproductive rights. As radical extremism is on the rise, the bedrocks of American life are eroding beneath them, and democracy is on the brink of ruin. One can argue it's been nothing but the failure of every institution in their lives over 20 straight years. They've been doing active shooter drills in their schools their entire lives. They're experiencing climate catastrophe on a global scale, while our governments and its citizens continue to punt the ball down the road on meaningful gun control and environmental policy. Everything has failed. The banks have failed, the government failed them, the churches have failed them, the schools have failed them, even in some cases their families have failed them. Why wouldn't young people become doomers? What is to keep them from becoming doomers? Why wouldn't they all be nihilists if that was the experience? Vanity, vanity, all is vanity. Everything seems meaningless and futile. Young people turning to nihilism deeply concerns me, and it should deeply concern all of us. But it's not surprising. It deeply concerns me because it's the same thing that happened in Germany after World War I. In the wake of national humiliation, German youth turned to nihilism, making it easy for leaders like Hitler to seduce them into the Nazi party, because nihilism has always been a breeding ground for fascism and other forms of violent extremism. Now you might be thinking, Ben, listen, the people who are extreme in this nation, those who stormed the Capitol on January 6th, they're not nihilists. They're Christians. They're Christian nationalists. But as the documentary Bad Faith and our speakers from the F21 weekend told us at our conference, this current movement is not and has never been about Jesus or Christianity or even morality, but simply about power. The reality is that what we call Christian nationalism today would better be described as Christian nihilism. They have no true morality. All they want is power for themselves and for the people who believe the way that they do. Dallas pastor Robert Jeffries, he's saying the secret part out loud now. He said a few years ago, I don't want some meek, mild leader or somebody who's going to turn the other cheek. Like Jesus, I think he should have put in parentheses there. I don't want some meek and mild leader or somebody who's going to turn the other cheek. I've said I want the meanest, toughest SOB I can find to protect this nation. Christian nihilists believe that they're in a holy war against demonic enemies and have proclaimed repeatedly that they will use any means necessary and stop at nothing to take power. When will we believe them? Neither Jesus nor the book of Ecclesiastes is compatible with that philosophy of nihilism, even if it's masquerading as Christianity. Many modern interpreters of this book have translated that word vanity as meaningless, but that's not what the word means or what it was intended to mean. The Hebrew word hevel which is translated as vanity, means vapor, mist, fog, gas, smoke, an element that is beautiful but fleeting. It moves and is blown to and forth by the wind. It takes different shapes. When you are in the midst of it, it is impossible to see clearly. And while it looks like a solid, when you try to grab for it, it slips right through your fingers. Like smoke, like fog, like mist is life. Confusing, absurd, disorienting, uncontrollable. The word hevel was never intended to convey meaninglessness, but ephemerality, transience, impermanence, the temporary, fleeting, fading, fugacious, vanishing, and evanescence reality of our lives that is here today and gone tomorrow. And the author of Ecclesiastes consistently claims that even though life is often absurd and most definitely ephemeral and fleeting, life still has tremendous meaning. The teacher was far less a nihilist and far more like the existentialist philosophers Kierkegaard, Dostoevsky, Tillich, Sartre, Camus, who rose up to counter the nihilistic fantasies of their age, where nihilism says that all is meaningless and argues for no prescription except to live like animals. Existentialism recognizes that the absurdity and ephemerality of human existence exists, and yet argues for striving to find meaning in the midst of it, purpose amidst the fog. What existential wisdom does the teacher of Ecclesiastes teach us? First, be humble. You can't control your life, so stop trying to control it. Learn to hold everything with an open hand, because you only have control truly over one thing, and that is the way you show up in the present moment. Try your best to reduce your anxiety about death. Stop worrying about the end of the world and choose to enjoy life, a conversation with a friend, the sun on your face, a good meal if you can. Eat, drink, and be merry, the teacher says. Enjoy the good things in life because they are gifts from God. And this may sound, I know, like a form of escapism from the extremely serious political moment we find ourselves in as Americans, now only 16 days from the election. But the teacher's words also signal a wake-up call to remind us that the brevity of human life only heightens its moral implications. It does not make them meaningless. The very fact that life is passing us by quickly and moving quickly away exposes the absurdity of certain human behaviors that inhibit our fellow human beings' ability to flourish and find enjoyment. While there is much we cannot control in life, there are also crucial elements of choice involved in living our lives well. We have the power to decide what our posture will be, one of acceptance or resistance, whether we will fight the ever-changing rhythms of life or we will fight against those who want to punish other people, whether we will find a way to dance with existence as it is. If everything is fleeting, then creating the greatest level of enjoyment for ourselves and other people is not a matter of good luck, but a work of great delicacy and skill. This means never giving in to the nihilistic temptation to believe that everything in life is meaningless, but working to create meaning for ourselves and for other people by finding ways that we can all try to have a share in the abundant gifts that God has given us all. There's an Oscar-winning film some of you may know about called Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. It's a massive movie. It came out in 2022 that encompasses multiple universes and alternate versions of its characters, but it does attempt to confront the danger of nihilism head on. Despite its complexity, the plot is very simple. It's a story of a family searching for meaning while struggling to survive financially. Evelyn, Wayman, and their daughter Joy own a laundromat that is being audited by the IRS when their lives are interrupted by an alternate version of Wayman from another universe who begs Evelyn to help him fight a character named Jobu Tupaki that is trying to destroy the multiverse. Just turns out it's an alternate version of their daughter, Joy. Talk about a parent-child drama. Joy has developed the ability to jump between universes and now has experienced every possible version of herself and has come to believe in the infinite chaos that nothing matters and there is no reason to exist and no reason for anyone to exist. And in her nihilism, Joy creates a black hole everything bagel. It's kind of a funny movie that will collapse in on itself, killing her and the entire universe if no one stops her. At first, Evelyn, her mother, is briefly persuaded because of her own struggles in life, but refuses in the end because she believes in the positive value of human relationships. This epic battle of mother and daughter unfolds for most of the film, but eventually Joy tells her mother, "I wasn't looking for you so that I could kill you. I was looking for someone who could see what I see and feel what I feel." She needed someone who was willing to take on the same curse that she bears of having experienced everything. And so Evelyn abandons everything for her daughter, experiences herself in every possible universe, and eventually dives in and finds a way to save her daughter through unrelenting sacrificial love. At the movie, she says to Joy, "Maybe there is something out there that explains why you still went looking for me, even through all this noise, and why, no matter what, I still want to be with you." And Joy replies to her, "Why not go somewhere to another universe where your daughter is not like this? Here, all we get are a few specks of time where any of this actually makes any sense." But Evelyn says, "Then I will cherish the few specks of time I have with you here. You are not unlovable. There is always someone to love, even in a stupid, stupid universe." Then Joy hugs her mom, and the universe is saved. Yes, time marches on, and we are a blip in the universe. Yes, death comes for us all, and we are all going to die. Yes, life is random, and we are not in control, but that doesn't mean that life is less meaningful, but more meaningful. It means every single second that we are breathing is precious. It means that every good thing that we have a chance to enjoy should be treasured. It means that every human life that exists on this earth is beloved. It means that every single relationship we have with another person is not only chock full of meaning, but that the very thing that has the greatest power to save our lives and the world from all the absurdity and the chaos and the ephemerality of human existence. Anytime we find ourselves falling into the nihilistic feeling that life is meaningless, all we need to do is to look at the beautiful face of another person in our lives that we love, or someone who loves us, and truly look into their eyes. We are what makes life meaningful. We are the other's reason for existing. And this is why we are going to fight like hell and vote like hell over the next 2 weeks in order to make sure that nihilism does not have the last word in America. We are going to fight like hell and vote like hell to make sure that fascism does not have the last word in America. Because we believe that every single human being in this nation has a right to eat, drink, and be merry, with bread on their tables and water in their cup and clothing on their backs and roof over their heads and rights for their bodies and their lives and time for rest. Vanity, vanity, all is vanity. And a chasing after the wind, yes, but loving our neighbor as ourselves is not vanity. And the wind that we are chasing after is the wind of the Holy Spirit, a spirit of love that brings us together into beloved community. Pleasure is vanity, time is vanity, youth is vanity, money is vanity, possessions are vanity, fame, power, expectations, retribution, trying to understand God, wisdom, life is vanity, but loving humanity is not vanity. Giving is what makes us human. Giving is what makes us closer to the divine. Giving is what brings us together. It's what makes the absurdity and chaos and fleeting nature of our existence make sense, be worth living. Neither God nor life nor our neighbors can be mastered or shaped in conformity to our own desires. They can only be enjoyed. As Mark Twain wrote, love's arithmetic is simple. When grief is shared, it is subtracted and divided. When joy is shared, it is added and multiplied. So no matter the way the wind blows, the wisdom of this season is to refuse to become overwhelmed by a nihilistic doom and to learn how to live for the sake of each other. It's not the truth that nothing matters. What's true is that nothing matters but love. love God, and love your neighbor. That is the meaning of life, and it's never too late to find it. Amen.